Dude, my next video, I have to do a summer Jayden cosplay. That would be amazing. What's up, everybody? My name is Kason, and welcome back to another War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video. Today is going to be my ultimate guide to Summer Jayden. For the guide summary today, we have the character breakdown discussing his stats, resistances, jobs, movement, all those types of things. I'm going to go over a skill overview talking about all of his new unique skills that come with his kit. I'm going to go over build optimization, things that I think are really good for him, and giving you kind of a sample build that you can set up for a team. I'm going to go over the VC analysis, so the new VC that came out with him this week. I'm going to go over it and talk about whether I think it's really strong and different things like that. I'm going to go over an AP discussion, basically talk about how exactly this affects him, break into the numbers and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, I'm going to do an arena showcase and give you my just general thoughts on the unit. So without further ado, let's get into this guide. So the first thing I want to go over today is the character breakdown as usual. And I want to point you to this radial chart in the middle for his stats. So he has quite a high agility stat, he has an above average luck stat, and he has an insanely high dexterity stat, which essentially means he is a pretty speedy unit who is very, very accurate. You're going to notice that his magic stat is fairly low. It's above average, but nothing crazy. As a magic attacker, this seems alarming at the start. But as you've seen with probably like my Queen video and things like that, those numbers can always be overcome in other ways. So I'm not always super concerned with a lower magic stat, especially given other things that are in this guy's kit. He can definitely overcome that. His HP stat is fairly average. It's actually pretty good in terms of a missile unit compared to people like Frederica or Nivelu or something like that. But yeah, just a fairly average HP stat. In terms of stats, pretty solid overall, nothing insane. Coming over here to the base and total stats, these are the actual numbers behind that. And the one thing I want to just point out to you guys is that even though his total magic stat is only 380, which is fairly low in terms of magic attackers, his base magic stat is 350, which is actually pretty decent. Making a comparison to the last video that I did, which was a Summer Helena video, her total magic is over 500, but her base magic stat is actually lower than Summer Jayden's. What this means is that if you equip a vision card, such as like a Ramuh that gives percentage magic, or a Trust Stone passive that gives 20% magic, that's based off the base stats. So even though his magic is lower than a lot of other characters, he still gets quite a bit of value from those types of passives because his base magic stat is fairly high. Coming down here to the master ability, he has the standard Wind Party master ability for UR units, gives 15 wind attack and 10% HP to the party. He comes with 20 missile attack penetration, which is a very good starting point for him, and an additional 5 missile attack, 5 modifier is a nice little addition at the end. In terms of resists, 2 defense, 0 spirit, nothing crazy there. 15% slash is pretty good for a missile unit, and 20% missile, very similar to the original Jayden character, who is also very good against missile. He's 0, so basically completely even to magic, and he's negative to strike and pierce. These resistances aren't crazy, but again, he's a missile unit. We have to keep that in perspective when we go through this video. Missile units are not meant to be tanky. They're not meant to be bulky. They're meant to sit in the back line and get off damage from a long range away. If this unit was extremely tanky, this dude would be insanely broken and there'd be a problem in the game. So I don't mind that these resistances aren't insane. Like I said, for a missile unit, they're actually pretty decent. In terms of status resistances, 50 to disable, I think is just overall pretty nice. Disable's not the most common thing in the game right now, but if you do get disabled, you're basically useless as a character unless you're a tank that's just holding aggro. Paralysis resist is another nice status resist, not the most monumental one in the game, but it's another nice one, and 10% blind is a nice little boost as well. He has the standard 20% earth resist and negative 10 to ice, and in terms of his jobs, he has the original job of Beachside Stag. It is somewhat similar to the original Jayden. I'm gonna kind of talk about that a little bit in this video, how they kind of do compare a little bit to each other. And he has Arithmetician and Scholar as the sub jobs. In terms of his strength, he has very good range. It is not quite as good, I would say, as regular Jayden, but it's pretty close. And in terms of penetration, he definitely surpasses regular Jayden by quite a bit. He has a lot of spirit penetration, a lot of missile attack penetration, which we will talk about more as we go along in the video. And obviously, number one strength is those 12-pack abs. Those things are ridiculous. So for this next part, this is just kind of like a sample build of things that I want to try and get on Jayden, and then leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think of this new style of graphic. I did try and change some of this stuff up for my video here, so just let me know feedback down below. I would really appreciate that. So first thing off is over here are his passives. Now he has 5 or 6 total different passives that you can run. Realistically, the only 3 that you're ever going to worry about are these right here. He has Ruler's Resolve, which is upgraded in his EX form, gives him 24% magic, which is nice, 40 Spirit Pen, which is fantastic, and then decrease AP consumption by 20. This is a must-run passive. I'm telling you, I cannot think of a situation where you won't run this. You will want this in literally every situation that you're ever playing Summer Jayden. It's just way, way, way too good. Now, the other passives, there's really 2 left, in my opinion, that you may want to run depending on what situation you're in. One is customized parts. Now, all this does is increases his range by 2. That's really, really solid for missile units, for gunner units, getting them to be able to shoot targets from far away. This is most of the time my favorite second passive to run on him. However, I can see a situation where if you were fighting evasion teams, especially if you're going into guild battles, like more than one fight in a row, because he does have a guaranteed hit in his kit, but it's only got 3 uses, you may want additional accuracy just to make sure you're hitting those evasion units, being able to use other skills to hit those evasion units. So I can see a situation for this, but I think overall you're probably going to want to run customized parts with Ruler's Resolve most of the time. His counterattacks are not that great. He has the standard Arithmetician one, which basically drains health from the target, which is cool. But the problem is he's so squishy that if you're getting hit first, there's a good chance he's dying in 1 hit or maybe 2 hits. And if you're that close to another character with Jayden, you're probably already in trouble. So I don't really like that. So the counter I like is this one. The King goes first. Now, there are some really, really good things about this counter and one not so great thing about this counter. The downside is this can shoot your teammates. Very similar to other gunner reaction abilities. It's a line of sight, so basically if somebody targets Jayden and this counter goes off and he does his counter and one of his teammates is in between him and the enemy, he will shoot his teammate, which really, really sucks. And unfortunately, Summer Jayden is going to do a lot of damage, so he's going to really hurt his teammate with this. The nice thing about it, though, however, is range height 2 is very, very solid, and this has a decent range on it. It's 4 squares, not including any sort of increased range that he has from his other passive. 121% modifier is decent. 30% counter chance is also decent, and it's preemptive. So honestly, like if it weren't for the fact that it was line of sight and it could potentially hit your teammate, this counter would be absolutely incredible, like almost top tier. But because of that, it does have a downside to it. I have used him in definitely won fights because he got this counter off and hit somebody for like 4k before they actually hit him. But yeah, there is a downside to it. It can actually hit your teammates. Coming back up here in terms of espers, I think I have 2 personally that I really, really like on him. Tetrasulfid comes with 7% AP on the nodes. You can also get 25 wind attack and 15 missile attack nodes. There are some other things on there, but these are the 3 that I think you want to run every single time if you're running Tetrasulfid. Coming over here to Bahamut, this is the other one that I really, really like on him. 19 agility instead of 17 agility. Comes with 25% magic, which again, he has high base stats for magic, so this can pump it up quite a bit. 25 human killers, very good. And you also have 15 magic resist there. Again, he starts with 0 magic resist, so if you're able to pump that up a little bit so he doesn't necessarily get one shot, could be a useful thing. In terms of stats, I think they're just a little better than Tetrasulfid. So these are definitely the 2 espers that I like the most. In terms of overall AP that he's going to get from these espers, it's extremely similar because this one has 7% AP nodes but only comes with 34, whereas Bahamut just comes with 43 flat. In terms of weapon, armor, and TMR, this is always something that's so incredibly customizable for characters, so it's hard for me to talk about because it depends on what Truststone passives you're using, depends on who you're fighting against, all those types of things. But just showing you some of my favorites. In terms of weapon, I think there's a no-brainer best-in-slot weapon for him, and it's this new squirt gun weapon that he just got, this Hydroblast weapon. I can't think of what it's called right now, but essentially it's just incredible for him. It gives 15 missile attack, 20 spirit pen, it gives reaction block rate, dexterity. It gives him so many things that he wants in his kit. To me, there's just really no other case for another weapon. Quasar plus 6 is going to come out at some point, and you could use it on him, but realistically, I think this is just so much better. I don't see a situation where you run any weapon on him except for his squirt gun weapon. In terms of armor, my favorite one is the Diamond Coat, just because it does give 30% acquired AP. This is more than the Trust Stone passive of only 20%, and it also gives 15 missile attack penetration, where again, a Trust Stone passive only gives 10. You could easily sub out another piece of gear or something like this, like a survival vest maybe, if you wanted some more unit resist or something like that, and get the passives from the Trust Stones. But just in my opinion, I think this is an incredibly good piece of gear for him. Now for TMRs, there's a number of ones that you could use. I think you could use regular Jayden's TMR. I think giving himself a shield and missile attack up could be very useful, helping him survive 1 or 2 hits instead of, you know, not being able to. You could use Zombie Ryryu's TMR to be able to give him re-raise to make sure that he gets through at least 1 hit. And I think he could also use his own TMR, which I didn't talk about on the screen, but it actually gives missile attack penetration to him and allies around, and it also gives him 40% magic. So very, very good TMR overall. The one that I think would be really interesting, I actually don't have it, so I can't test it, but it's Little Leela Halloween version's TMR. This gives 80% magic to him when he uses it for 3 turns. Again, 80% is a lot for base stats. That's a 3-turn steroid. He's going to have a lot of penetration in his kit, so if you are able to just get his magic stat up, he should be hitting like an absolute truck, and I think this could be a useful TMR, especially because it comes with 5 agility on the piece of gear just as a whole. In terms of vision cards, I think there's a few that are really, really interesting. This one over to the right here is the Culmination VC. This is Sodali's vision card, and this is, if you are running a win party, an absolute must-run card. I legitimately think this is the best mono element VC in the game. It comes with 15% agility, and it also comes with 20 AoE resistance. I think those are probably 2 of the best 3-4 passives in the entire game, and they're both on the same card. It also gives the win unit holding it 20 spirit penetration. So if Sodali holds it, it's great for Sodali, but Summer Jayden could also hold this card to very good success. I think it's just an outstanding card. If you're running a win team, you want that card. This card for himself, I'm going to go over in a later slide here. It's his own VC. Does come with 35 missile attack penetration and acquired AP up. I think this is a must-run VC for him, either in the main or sub slot. He doesn't necessarily have to be the one holding it, but I think it is good on him. And like I said, either main or sub VC, I think you must run that in one of those 2. I think it's just too good. And the other VC over here to the left, you'll recognize from my last video, is the Dark Ramu VC. This is not out in global yet, but this is going to be an incredible card for him when it does come out. Gives 50% magic to the party. The person holding it, just like Sodali's card, gets 20 spirit penetration, gives earth resist and slash resist. Overall, just an incredible card for him. Really helps the things that he's good at, just really helps amplify those things. And I think once you get this card, could just be absolutely fantastic for him, and also would help you splash him in a lightning party in a situation like a guild battle defense. You know, you might want to try and bait somebody in hovering a lightning unit. Well, now you've got an Ibarra maybe or something like that, but also a Summer Jayden, who are both getting a ton from that magic stat. I think this is going to be a very, very good card for him when it comes out. In terms of desired passives, I wanted to list these out here to the right, just to basically talk about that whether you get it from either your piece of equipment or your Trust Stone passives, these are passives you want. You want acquired AP up, you want magic up, missile resist penetration, wind attack, for sure. Critical damage is very, very good because he has such a high dexterity stat that he's going to be critting a lot, so I think crit damage is fantastic. And I think missile resistance and also slash resist, even though I didn't list, are very good for him because it just helps amplify the resistances that he is good at already. Now, I said earlier that I wanted to talk real briefly about his VC, and this is the new one, the Stag of the Shining Summer. So for win units holding it, they get 10% magic and 10 missile resist. Summer Jayden holding it also gets another 5 missile attack and 10 AoE resist. I think this is really good for helping him bulk up a little bit. Again, if you have the Culmination VC and you have this one, now he has 30 AoE resist. That may help him live through a hit that he might not normally live through. And in terms of the party effect for the wind, 35 missile attack penetration. This is the first VC in the game that has this exact effect on it. I think it's very, very strong for the wind element. Wind is actually just getting like super hooked up lately by Gumi. It's crazy. The missile attack pen is good for him. It's good for Moore. It's good for Lucia. It's good for Sodali. Like, there's so many units that can actually take advantage of it. It's kind of crazy. 10 slash resist is also nice, and acquired AP up 50%. I want to shout this out because, like I said before, you could use this either as a main VC or a sub VC. To talk about what this card looks like, like as a sub VC. The 10 AoE resist basically becomes like 3, so it's really not great in that regard. But the party effects, missile attack penetration stays at 18, so it's about 50% value. It's still pretty good. 18 missile attack penetration, still solid. It's obviously not as good as 35, but it's still solid. 10 slash resist should become 5 slash resist. Again, not as good, but for a sub VC, not bad. The acquired AP, though, I want to give a shout out here, 50% actually becomes 40%. It holds on to almost the full value of that. So holding this as a sub VC, you get almost as much from the acquired AP as the main VC. And that's just something that I wanted to talk about in terms of how you want to build him and where you want to place that VC and stuff like that. In terms of the stats, 301 HP is solid, 142 magic's great, 55 dex is very, very nice for him, and it comes with 3 agility. It's always nice when you get that little bit of extra agility stat on a VC, and I really, really like this card. I think if you're playing Summer Jayden, you want this VC for sure. Again, either in the main or sub VC slot is fine. In terms of the main job skills, there's some different ones I want to go over. So this first one here, AP Break Shot, is his just kind of bread and butter, like just generic skill. It's the 6 cast skill that he can use all the time, only costs 15 AP, and this is before his passive that drops the AP costs. So all of these AP costs take with a grain of salt because these are not going to stay that high. His passive will drop the amount that it costs. As a reminder for that, the AP consumption down just from his one passive is 20%. So essentially, it will cost 80% of the value of this 15. Quick math tells us that's 12 AP, so realistically, his most basic skill will only cost 12 AP, which is very, very efficient. Decreasing 15 AP on the target on hit, I like the skill overall. It's not insane, but it's very solid as just like a generic skill, and I like it. This next skill, Maelstrom Jet here in the bottom right, has a range height of 4, which is very, very nice in terms of giving him the ability to hit targets in certain maps and certain situations. 200% modifier is very, very good, and dropping healing power for 50. This may not seem like a huge thing right now, but honestly, our meta is very, very sustain heavy. There's a lot of teams that have healing in their kits, and this could make a pretty monumental difference. This could drop the amount somebody heals by quite a bit, so don't sleep on this move. It is definitely pretty decent. Another skill that is fantastic, only a range height of 1, Summer Sniper. Absolutely love this skill. This gets upgraded in his EX job. Again, 200% modifier, 100% hit chance, dispels all buffs and haste. So a dispel move, 200% modifier, 100% guaranteed hit. Absolutely love this skill. It's honestly just fantastic. I can't say enough about it. Another skill that I absolutely love, Splash Shower, reduces counter chance by 100% for 3 turns at the start of the turn for targets. So this essentially means that it can't be countered and 3 turns. So now it basically just turns off your counter abilities for like 3 turns. This is a pretty insane skill. It's extremely useful. It has 3 casts, range height of 4, a huge AoE. This is the Barrage AoE. So honestly, I just absolutely love this skill. Range height of 4, area height of 1. Can't say enough. These 2 skills right here, Midsummer Sniper and Splash Shower, are the 2 that he's going to use all the time. They're going to be his bread and butter. But overall, I like all 4 of the skills for the most part. Now, coming into this next part of the video is I think where it really gets interesting, and it's talking about his 2 buffs. Now, both of these buffs are good just at first glance, but one thing that you have to realize about ranged units, missile units, gunner units, stuff like that, especially Summer Jayden, he has so much range, it's very unlikely he's going to get 2 buffs off before he hits the opposing unit. And I honestly don't even think you want to get both buffs off. I think you want him to start hitting units after 1 buff. I think 1 buff is the sweet spot for him. You can easily have him have tons of AP, which I will go over on one of the future slides, just from only 1 buff on its own, and I don't think you want to get both of them off. So the bottom one is my favorite, gives 25% agility to him and the people next to him, and it also gives 5% AP restore, so a basically mini version of Bells along with an agility buff for the party. This gets him moving quickly, helps him gain more and more AP, just an overall fantastic skill for him. The other skill here is 40% magic and 40 spirit pen. Now, this is a good ability for sure, but I'm not sure that he even needs it in terms of his damage. He starts with basically a floor of 60 spirit pen. He gets 40 from one of his passives and 20 from his gun. So even without running any sort of spirit pen on a VC, he has 60 as a floor. That's a very good start, and depending on how you build him, you could get up to even like 80 or 90 if you wanted to. In terms of missile attack penetration, he also, in most cases, is going to have somewhere between around 55 and 70 missile attack penetration. So this is a guy who has tons of penetration, and that's not necessarily the thing that he needs. I think it's much more beneficial to do something like this down here that gets him more AP regeneration, helps him go faster, and just get more turns off. If this guy is able to shoot a few times, there's not many characters that will get through that. And I will show you on the next couple slides how good that can be. So coming into his sub-job skills and limit break, talking about these two down here. First of all, piercing ray, this text is actually wrong. Piercing ray does not silence. That's silencing shot. Basically, all this does is it pierces for damage. So in terms of targeting the unit, if you're targeting this unit here, it will hit everybody on the line in the path of where it's trying to hit. So it can be useful in terms of like hitting multiple units and stuff like that, but overall, not an incredible skill. I don't think you're going to use it a ton. Silencing shot also is pretty niche. Again, don't think you're going to use it a ton. Only range height 1. Realistically, I think you're going to want to run the Arithmetician sub. He does have an AoE magic attack from Arithmetician. He has heals from Arithmetician. I think that's just more useful. A lot of times, you know, in guild battles, if you were running it twice so that he could get a heal off at the start, or if he's ever in an awkward spot where he can't hit somebody, he can throw out a clutch heal to someone. I think it's just a more useful sub job overall for him. In terms of his limit break, this is a very nice skill. 200% modifier, a nice little cross-shaped AoE, 67% chance to inflict slow. So very, very high chance to inflict slow, which can be very, very crucial, especially if you can land this on multiple people. This is a higher chance than a lot of other status effects. This is very similar to Kane's limit break, except it hits more than one person. So very, very nice limit break overall. Now, this is a slide that I wanted to talk to you guys about, and I'm not just going to flat come out and say that I think a certain set is best or better than other sets in terms of your trust stones. But what I want to do here is talk about the difference between running something like a magic trust stone set and an AP trust stone set, or an AP and TP versus an AP and HP trust stone set, just to talk about those AP problems or lack of problems that Summer Jayden might have. For this setup that I'm talking about here, where these numbers come from, this is the example team comp. So I'm running with a Jum and a Sadali. They have these VCs as party VCs, and Summer Jayden has this gear with this Esper and VC combo. So for all three of these boxes, these are running this exact build as a comparison to talk about what exactly that AP or TP set does for Jayden. So as an example to start here, let's say you wanted to run a magic set and an HP set, give him a little more bulk and a little more damage. You could certainly do that on him. Let's see what his AP kind of looks like with that situation. So starting AP should be somewhere around 43 to 45. This is actually slightly variable due to mastery levels in terms of your elemental mastery. If you were starting at like elemental mastery 1, which nobody should be at 1, up to 30, 35, closer to 40 or something like that, this number can actually change slightly because it does actually add percentage AP to your win units. So starting AP should be 43 to 45 with this build. He has 20% AP consumption down because of his passive, and he has 80% increased acquired AP due to 30% from the diamond coat and 50% due to his VC. Now, what kind of AP does he gain? From the 2 TP skills that he has, the Magic and Spirit Pen buff, he would gain 19 AP. So if he used this on turn 1, he would have 62 to 64. So let's just pause here for a second. So again, Magic and HP Trust Stones, we use this Spirit Pen magic buff. We have 62 to 64 AP. So realistically, we have just enough to limit break and use like a Midsummer Sniper. That would be almost the perfect amount to do that. Honestly, that's kind of underwhelming. I want to be able to do more than that with Jayden. I want to be able to use more than 2 skills, especially because only one of those is an AoE. Now, let's look to see if it's any different if we were to use Suns Out, Guns Out, the skill that I thought was better. Suns Out, Guns Out will give him 28 AP instead of 19, which puts him at 71 to 73. Now, the thing is here that he gets AP per turn as well from that skill. And again, it should be about 13 per turn that he gets. So realistically, 71 plus 13 is 84. So after one buff, he has 84 to 86 AP rather than 62 to 64. That's a difference of about 22. Now, the thing that you want to think about here, and this is what this number here is, 110 to 112. If you use that skill, right, he's going to get 28 AP from the initial use. The next turn that he hits, he's going to gain 13. The next turn that he hits, he's going to hit 13. And the next turn he gets, he's going to get another 13. So he gains a total of 39 from those 3 turns after he uses it, and a 28 to start. So overall, about 67 AP that he gets from that skill. That's very, very efficient, especially considering that he can buff not only his agility, but his teammates' agility. So the reason that I put this number here is 110 to 112 to use. That's essentially how much AP that he has to work with over his 3 turns with this setup if you just use this buff. I hope that's clear enough for you guys. I hope that kind of makes sense. But realistically, even though he won't start that first attack with this much AP, that's kind of how much he has to work with among his 3 turns. So let's kind of math that out. Like, what exactly does that do for him? Now, if you were to limit break, 40 AP limit break, and then use splash shower twice, 64 plus 40 is 104. You will have enough AP to splash shower twice and use your limit break with this. So that may be enough for you guys. It may be beneficial if you want to just run magic and HP. If you're cool with just being able to splash shower twice and using the limit break, if that's good enough for you, cool beans. You know, you could also, if you're not splash showering, you could limit break and use midsummer 3 times. So it's a decent amount of AP. I think it could be better. I would probably prefer better in most situations, but I can definitely see a case where you'd want to run a magic, or, you know, even if you're fighting evade and you wanted to run a dex and luck set, or I'm sorry, an accuracy and luck set, this is about how much AP that you're looking to work with for those trust stones. I hope that wasn't too confusing. Let's move forward. So now, let's say we keep the HP set, but instead of using magic or accuracy or something like that, we use AP trust stones. Well, now we're looking at about 48 to 50 starting AP instead of 43 to 45. Our AP consumption down, so the cost that it uses, the cost that it takes to use our skills goes down another 10%, so it is 30% reduced. We still have the same amount acquired AP, that didn't go up, but now let's look at the difference on how much AP we have from this. So, in terms of using Suns Out, or Can't Beat This Heat, we'll have 67 to 69 instead of 62 to 64. If we use Suns Out, Guns Out instead, 76 to 78, but again, the number that we really want to look at is 115 to 117. Now, this doesn't seem crazy, right? You're like, well, that's only like 5 more AP over the course of 3 turns. That's really not that big of a difference. Because this 13 that he gets per turn is actually not increased by acquired AP, because it is a flat percentage of his AP. So you think, well, 5 more AP is really not that useful, right? Like, I don't know why I would use this set. That's the difference, is this skill cost makes a big difference. Now your splash shower is only 28 instead of 32. So to do some math here, we could limit break 35. We could do splash shower. So if we splash shower 3 times, that's 84 AP. We are like just shy of being able to splash shower 3 times and limit break instead of just doing it twice in a limit break here. We could midsummer sniper, use 2 splash showers and limit break. Like 3 really good AoE attacks and 1 really good single target attack. For a missile unit, that's a very good start considering we're not running bells on him. So I just wanted to kind of show you the difference here between the AP set and the magic set. Now let's take this one step further. What if we tried to just absolutely maximize the amount of AP that we could get? Assuming we're not running another VC that gives us more acquired AP up for the party, we're going to run AP and TP sets. So these numbers should be the same, but our acquired AP up will go up by 25%. Basically, the amount of AP we're looking at is 119 to 123. I probably don't recommend this, to be honest. And the reason for that is because, again, this 13 doesn't change from that increased acquired AP percentage. The only reason that I would recommend this, and to do some very quick math, is splash shower 3 times is 84. 84 plus 35 is 119. So you will see this is not 119, but this is. So if you really wanted to splash shower 3 times and limit break, if you were running AP and TP trust stone sets, you would be capable of that. I think in most cases, it's probably not worth it. You're probably looking at one of these two options. But again, I just kind of want to break this down for you guys to get an idea of how much AP you're actually getting, how much cost efficiency you're actually getting from using those other sets on Jayden. Okay, so now for the arena showcase, and this first team comp I wanted to show you guys is definitely not a team that I would normally run here, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how much damage that Jayden can do against an Earth team in a potential situation where you might want to run a guild battle defense, where you are trying to appear like you're playing lightning, but you actually have some wind in the back. So showing this team off just real quick, as you're going to see with the VCs, this is a lightning VC, so this does nothing for him. Same with Vow of Love, doesn't really do anything for him. There's very little VC here action that's really pumping him up, but you're going to see against an Earth team, he still does pretty insane damage. I know this map is actually missile attack up for win units, so it might be a little higher than it normally is, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how hard he can carry against some of those Earth teams. With this setup I have him at 1357 magic, so even though he does have a low starting value, it's actually fairly high. I am running him, I believe, with AP runes and TP runes to just kind of maximize that AP value, so his damage theoretically could be higher anyway just from using magic, but just kind of wanted to give you an idea of what this looks like. Okay, so getting into this fight here, this team is not optimized whatsoever. I had not really tested much of anything yet before I went into this fight here. As you see, Nivlu's going to walk up in his Barrier Obliterator instead of hasting Jayden, which is what I wanted, but he's going to pop up 10k damage to Zazan. I actually hadn't done his damage up nodes yet, so he actually probably could have hit even higher than that. He damage capped him on one hit. So yeah, it's pretty good damage. So obviously Oberon's going to walk up, one-shot Nivlu, no problem. Noctis does not that great damage to Esther, because Esther is very tanky versus physical. But Jayden's got his buff on, damage caps Oberon just like he did against Zazan. Noctis walks up, does damage to Esther. And we'll see how much she does to Noctis, 8162. So very easy fight for Jayden. He basically just sat back and did exactly what he's supposed to do. Just be a sniper in the back, picking off targets one by one. And let's see what it looks like in the next video, not against an Earth team. Okay, so the next team I have here is a full dark team. It is not fully optimized, but it is pretty strong. Does have the Anima card along with the Agility Up card, has the Garble and the Sub VC. So they very solid VCs and overall level 120 comp. Obviously they don't have Joker, so it's not as strong as it could be, but a fairly respectable team, and let's see what kind of damage that Summer Jayden can do to these guys. All right, so the fight starts off. Leela's going to walk over, do her typical buff that she almost always does. And now in this situation, Nivlu should be able to get that haste off on Jayden, which is what we want. We basically want him to try and take as many turns as we can. As you can see, his range is nuts. He walks up into Splash Shower immediately before he even gets AP off. Esther gets one shot. So it's not looking great because he should be mostly out of AP, but as you see, he still had 22, so not bad. He gets 22 attacks off before he ever gets his buff. Let's see what kind of damage. Oh, actually, she heals Dwayne. He's going to auto attack Helena. So this did not go exactly how we wanted. We wanted him to buff for first turn, but he was actually had too much range. Nivlu picks off the Helena and auto attacks Dwayne. So now he's sitting at 50 AP. So now this actually looks pretty good for us. Uses Barrier Obliterator on Leela. 6954 damage and removes buff on Leela, which is great. And actually the removal of the buff, I think, probably helped him live versus Leela there. Another 6k onto Leela, so very solid damage. Again, you can see he's pretty darn squishy. If he lives through one hit, he's probably not living through two, but ultimately you just don't want him getting hit. So if you can keep him on the back line and just keep spraying from long ways away, I think Jayden can do pretty respectable damage. Okay, so I do apologize for this fight number 3 here. My recording is pretty blurry. I was recording it on my phone, and I think for some reason it basically records in portrait mode instead of landscape, so it basically makes it like extremely blurry, and I apologize for that. But if you can't read it, he's sitting with 1285 magic, 7500 HP, and basically the thought process behind this team was I wanted to see how well he worked with regular Jayden. So I have a tank in Ravis here, so I have a full rainbow comp here just to see how well it does. Ravis is my tank, and I have Summer Jayden and regular Jayden as the backline kind of snipers. They're both sitting around 1200 to 1300 magic, just trying to get that range advantage to see if we can kill some teams and see how it goes. So let's take a look to see who we want to fight. We are fighting a full dark comp of Dark Fina, Little Leela, and Joker. So since this is a dark team, honestly, regular Jayden, if he can just get one AoE off, that's probably all we need to have a decent chance in this fight, because he should do very good damage against them with that elemental damage advantage. Ravis, what we're doing here is basically, she has hate. We want her to cast Immortal Spirit and re-raise. So she has two don't die spells. Basically, we just want to tie up the other units while we kill them. So yeah, Jayden walks up, does decent damage to the Dark Fina. Not a ton to Leela, almost only 3k. Jayden gets sniped out right away, so honestly doesn't look great for us. However, you can see that range that Summer Jayden has, walks up, kills Dark Fina, so she is no longer a problem. He has his AP buff online, so he should not have AP issues in this fight. As you can see, Ravis is doing her job tanking up. So he walks up, Splash Shower, actually misses the Leela. I am not running any sort of accuracy on him, so occasionally they will get a dodge for some of those skills, but yeah, overall it's okay. Does Splash Shower again, this time kills the Leela, so now we just have Joker to deal with. He's sitting there with bells still, and Jayden still has AP, so he did Splash Shower a couple times in a row, and he just limit break, so he had enough AP to do all of that. So that was kind of my point from the start. If you run AP and TP sets and he just gets his one buff off, he can pretty much just spray for days, which is really, really nice. So we win that fight, and I think I have one more for you guys before I let you go. Okay, and for this last fight, I'm going against a full missile team with Cloud, Frederica, and Nivlu. The same thought process as last time when I'm using the Summer Jayden, Jayden and Ravis rainbow comp. They're two units that are very good against other missile units, so if Ravis can just tie them up for a little bit, I think we should have the advantage. So let's see how this fight plays out. As this is our last fight, this would be a great time if you guys are getting value from the video to please hit that like and subscribe button down below. Really do appreciate it. Helps allow more people to see my videos, and I just really, really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. So anyway, Ravis gets her Immortal Spirit buff up. Jayden gets the Suns Out, Guns Out up. We Magiblast plus Cloud. Doesn't do a ton, only 2600 from regular Jayden. Summer Jayden is definitely the carry here, but he tanks Barrage fairly well. So Splash Shower comes up from the Summer Jayden, kills the Cloud, so we are looking like we're in pretty good shape here. So Jayden gets bells on, leg shot to the Ravis. They finally pop the Courage from her, so she's actually doing very well as a tank. That is the Arithmetician sub playing its part. So awkward spot where he can't reach anybody, walks up, gets a heal on Jayden, gets him to full, which is very, very nice. Jayden walks up, still out of range though, as they do have that height advantage on us, unfortunately. Ravis is out of hate, so they are starting to tank Jayden, and this is all of a sudden becoming a very awkward fight. This map is just very, very weird. I honestly can't stand this map because it's just so hard to navigate. But he walks up, Splash Shower, one-shots the Nivlu, no problem. So showing that he is the king of the missile units. He's going to walk up. Gets a little bit of a heal on Ravis, not bad. Actually keeps her staying alive, actually. She would have died there without it. Walks up, another Splash Shower, kills Frederica. So I hope this gives you guys an idea on how good he can be. He's going to be much, much better in a mono wind comp, but I don't have the win units and the win VCs to make that shine. So obviously, this is a map that gives him an advantage, but if you run him in a full win comp with better VCs and all that kind of stuff, I really think Summer Jayden can be pretty insane. I think he's definitely the best missile unit in the game. Probably Eliza being second right now. I think she's very solid too. But yeah, I think he's very, very good. If you pulled for him because he's a Husbando unit, congrats to you. I hope you really, really enjoy him. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next one, and have a wonderful day.